So my thoughts on Beverly Hills Cop 1. What's up, ladies and gents in Cyberland? So I'm coming back to you with another film review of Beverly Hills Cop. So, let me think. Beverly Hills Cop, I saw, and yes, I saw this when I was a kid. And I mean like 5, 6, 7. We had the VHS tape of it. And that was one of the films I used to watch a lot of. And yes, I know 6-year-olds should not be watching that. Knowing what I know now as a parent, no, my kids would not be watching that film just yet. Maybe my older one, just more so probably in a couple years because of the language. And then, of course, there was the nudity. And, you know, I gotta say, that never got my attention. Like, even the language, I was just like, it wasn't that it was second nature, it was just I never paid attention to it. I was just like, oh, he said this. And that was it. It wasn't a film I watched on a regular basis, but it was a film I do remember watching consistently. It wasn't something I just always watched, but I remember the first one. I just thought it was an action film. To me, it wasn't funny. I thought a lot of the stuff going on in the film, I was just like, get the bad guys, get the bad guys. Like, why did they throw him out the window? Why did they kill that person? What did he do? Most of the story I never really understood until I got older. I was just more so like, to me, it was just like the best part of the film was just watching the certain parts where they were having shootouts, which was few and far in between. It wasn't fully that type of movie. And, of course, I got older, and then watching the film again, it was Eddie Murphy's, it was a great moment for Eddie Murphy with making films, at least for me. Because I hadn't really seen a lot of his films, but I do know Beverly Hills Cop, that's one of the films that I remember him for. So the film is pretty much about a Detroit cop who kind of oversteps his bounds and his authority, nearly gets fired, and, goes home. An old friend comes into town, and they catch up and stuff, and unfortunately a tragedy happens, and he realizes something's amiss, and he decides to take a vacation to go to Beverly Hills in California. He gets there, starts poking around, and already he's getting some very situations, not only with the police there, but also with the main architect of the film in regards to being the villain. And, over time starts to become somewhat of friends with two other detectives, Billy Rosewood and Taggart. I forget Taggart's first name. Shoot. Anyway, point being, I gotta look that up. I always forgot, what was Taggart's first name? And then also we have Bogomil, who is he's in charge. He runs Taggart and Rosewood. And then, through majority of the film, Eddie Murphy's character, Axel Foley's trying to figure out what happened with his friend and what's really going on. What's the basis of him being there? It's not just a simple clean-cut situation. And, of course, we start to see that the police there, or he starts to see the police there run things a lot differently as opposed to where he's at. But then also, it's kind of a thing of where you see elements of where Axel Foley knows more than Rosewood and Taggart, and you would think that, I think they're higher in rank maybe, and or if they're not the same level, you would think they would know the same, but it wasn't that case, especially when Bogomil mentioned something to them because they didn't fully understand the situation. So lo and behold, come to realizations, the film ends as it should. And, I have to say, it holds the test of time. It was a great film. A lot of great scenes in it. And then, of course, the comedy. The comedy was just great. Eddie Murphy was... I sometimes wonder if, for this film, did he improvise most of those scenes, or was it like the director said, come on, Eddie, give me this or give me that? That was interesting. Also, just like we have Ghostbusters has, the theme song. Beverly Hills Cop also has the theme. I know Patti LaBelle did a song for the film. There's a few other people had songs in the film, like Vanities, Nasty Girl. That was a big song at the time. But the main theme of Beverly Hills Cop is the Axel Foley theme. And what's funny is, people are not going to remember the other songs of the film, but they're definitely going to... When you play that theme, that's one of the things from the 80s. When you play certain themes from the 80s, everybody knows, okay, that's from Beverly Hills Cop. I may not know the name of it, but that's Beverly Hills Cop theme. I know that's what it's from. As far as my rating for it, I give it 5 out of 5 yes sirs. I'm like, it doesn't deserve anything less. Like, seriously? It was just an entertaining film, and especially now, when I watch it as I'm older, you get everything in the film and stuff. So that was great. The cast was great. There wasn't anybody I disliked. And I felt, and this is one thing I've noticed about the 80s. When it comes to villains, I feel the villains from the 80s were a lot more menacing than what they are now. If that makes any sense. I mean, the 90s has some, and the current era, the comics, films, and stuff have some. But I felt like the villains that don't talk as much, that really don't say a lot more scary than the ones who, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and you mess with me, and I'm going to get you, and, they don't really talk. They just literally, they say a couple words, and then all of a sudden something happens, whether it's somebody gets killed, or an explosion happens, or some type of calamity and woe kind of thing. So I noticed that. Like, the more 80s films I go back and rewatch and then think about them, I'm noticing that, like, they're a lot less talking from them. Outside of, maybe James Bond and stuff, because it's a wholly different environment. And eventually I'll do reviews for that. So, yeah, I think that, look at Beverly Hills Cop, I think that's pretty much it. So with that being said, if you've never seen Beverly Hills Cop, check it out. It's kind of like when people talk about Eddie Murphy, they say, I always hear people say, they say a couple things. They either say Raw or Delirious for comedy, stand-up, or they say Coming to America or Beverly Hills Cop. And then sometimes I get Trading Places mixed in with those two. So those three, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, or Coming to America. So if you've never seen the film, and I'm pretty sure most people have, but the newer people, like the younger people, if you've never seen it, watch it. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. It's I mean the environment is of course from the 80s, but everything about the film was just great. So with that being said, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.